Welcome to the New Process Podcast. Learn all the tools, methods, and best practices combined with people, emotions, and a human-centric mindset to rethink your process and push it to the next level. And here is your host, Mirko Kloppenberg.
Yeah, welcome to episode 6-7 of the New Process Podcast. And a happy new year to all of you. Today, it's all about the top BPM topics for 2026. Last year in November, I invited you to take part in the New Process survey, and 111 people did so. Thank you so much. This is actually the biggest sample we've ever had. In this episode, I'll share the results of the survey with you. And in addition to that, I've also asked BPM creators, thought leaders, and researchers to add their own top topics for 2026. So you will hear what is coming and what you can do about it. And if you haven't had any of these topics on your radar yet, this is your moment to check. Is this relevant for me in 2026? So let's get 2026 started.
And now, let's start to rethink processes.
Yeah, let's do this. But before we jump into the top BPM topics for 2026, I want to share a few personal highlights from 2025. Because you, as the New Process community, made all this possible. And I'd like to say thank you for all your support. So first, the New Process BPM framework, as well as the BPM Roadmap mini course are finally out in the world. That feels huge because it means that the New Process way is no longer just episodes, posts, or slides. It's something you can actually use step by step to move forward from intention to action. Second, as many of you probably know, I took over a new position at Techniker Krankenkasse with a clear mission to take real accountability for processes and create measurable impact. At scale, and that feels still a bit unreal sometimes because TK has well over 12 million insured members in Germany. So for me, processes aren't just a theoretical concept, they are a way to improve services for more than 12 million people and create real impact across Germany's system. That's really impressive. And third, I continued my strategy coaching and training work with customers, helping organizations on their way to becoming process-driven organizations, translating strategy into real change in reality through processes. So I've seen again and again, strategy only becomes real when it shows up in daily work, in roles, in decisions, in handovers, and in the way teams actually operate. And that leads perfectly into 2026. Because when you listen to the expert voices in a few seconds in this episode, you will notice the common thread. We are moving from buzzwords to fundamentals, from tools to capabilities, and from AI dreams to process reality. All right. Let's get into the top BPM topics for 2026. And as I said, I will share the results of my survey with you in this episode. But before we do this, I'd like to share some more impulses with you. Therefore, I've asked some of the top BPM creators, thought leaders, and researchers to share their top BPM topics for 2026 with you. So if you want, grab a pen. There is lots of nuggets coming. We are going to kick off with Amy van Looy. Amy is professor at Ghent University in Belgium, and she has been doing a lot of research in the BPM space for many years. I'm really excited that she's sharing her top BPM topics with us this year.
Hello, my name is Amy van Looy from Ghent University in Belgium. My top business process management topic for 2026 is related to sustainable BPM, to make business processes not only economically performant in terms of process costs, duration, quality, and flexibility, but also important are the process outcomes in terms of green sustainability and social sustainability, to really help organizations save the planet and society at large, while also keeping an eye on their human capital. In this regard, I'm looking forward to chair the Responsible BPM Forum at the International BPM Conference during the fall of 2026. Hope to see you there. Cheers!
Yeah, thank you very much, Amy. Also hope to see you at the conference. I'm super glad that you're pointing this topic out. We had sustainable BPM already on the radar last year, but from my perspective, this topic is still massively underrepresented and far too low on the agenda. So that definitely has to change in 2026. Next up is Zbigniew Misiak, founder of bpmtips.com and the curator of the annual BPM Skills Survey, where I've also had the chance to contribute my thoughts over the past few years.
Hello, this is Zbigniew Misiak from BPM Tips. I want to suggest 2 BPM topics for the new process community. My number 1 BPM topic for 2026 is an evergreen, but with a twist. What are your best practices for making business process management not only a way to deliver value for customers and the organization, but also a way to create a better working environment for employees? How do you see a future organization with a hybrid workforce that combines employee skills with possibilities offered by artificial intelligence? Background for this question. Organizations are experimenting heavily with AI, but many of these experiments fail. And perhaps we need a different approach, and maybe human-centric BPM could play an important role here. Now, topic number 2. What advice do you have for people taking their first steps in BPM? Let's imagine a French child entering a job market and asking you for advice as a BPM professional. What would you suggest? What would be your answer? The second topic was inspired by a question I received from a reader.
Thank you, Zbigniew. For me, the topic of human-centric BPM really stands out, and with the growing use of AI, it becomes even more important. But we'll dive into that in more detail later. Let's continue with Tim Geppert. Tim is lecturer and researcher at the School of Management and Law at Zurich University of Applied Science, and he conducted some very interesting research I'd like to share with you.
Hi, this is Tim Geppert from the Zurich University of Applied Sciences. My top BPM topic for 2026 is moving from today's mostly individual Gen AI use to governed process integration. This year, we surveyed more than 300 people about how they use AI in process management, and the result was really striking. In offices and teams, people are already using Gen AI. They draft emails and streamline everyday work. But when we moved to the management level and asked, how are you integrating AI into your processes? The typical answer was, we have a few pilot projects and are still evaluating. I believe this gap will shape the key BPM themes for 2026. First, we need governed AI instead of shadow AI. Employees often tell us, my boss doesn't know I'm using this. They adopt tools on their own, without guardrails and without support. That has to change, because without robust governance, usage risks will grow. Second, we must move from Gen AI usage to agentic AI automation. Our data shows clearly that only a small share of companies are running Gen AI in productive processes. That's the next maturity level we need to reach. What I've seen leads to one conclusion. 2026 will be the year when organizations must develop the capability to turn process autonomy into real value creation.
Thank you very much, Tim. I find it incredibly exciting that your research has now scientifically proven a feeling that I had had for many months. I'd love to dive deeper into your findings in another podcast episode and share them with the community in the coming months. That would be super cool. But now let's continue with Julia Kupke. Julia is Senior Process Excellence Consultant at Apolix and a PhD candidate doing research on process mining. I met her in person at Cellosphere and I just had to invite her to share her thoughts on the top BPM topics 2026.
Hi, this is Julia Kupke from Apolix, and my BPM topic for 2026 is that I think the connection between BPM and PI, so process intelligence, should be strengthened because, as we know, the BPM concentrates very much on the to-be process, and usually the reality looks different. So I think combining both is the real strength and enabler for actually managing your processes efficiently.
Thank you, Julia. I fully support your perspective. For me, process intelligence is an essential part of business process management, and it simply doesn't work without it. And I recently experienced a few really cool use cases live, and honestly, it made my heart sing. So that was super cool to see. But now we continue with Laura Brandenburg. Laura is founder of Bridging the Gap for Business Analysts, and she has a lot of practical experience in business process management.
Hi, I'm Laura Brandenburg from Bridging the Gap, author of The Value-Driven Business Analyst. My top BPM topic for 2026 is getting clear on your current state before diving into agentic AI. There is so much excitement right now about AI agents. These are tools that can take action on our behalf and streamline work within our businesses. But most organizations simply aren't ready. They're still drowning in a sea of spreadsheets with fragmented processes, unclear responsibilities, and systems that don't reflect how the work actually gets done. This lack of current state clarity makes it impossible to design AI agents that actually work, let alone do what they're supposed to do. It also makes it difficult for an organization to build an LLM or any sort of knowledge repository to feed AI information and query it that actually represents how the business really works today. That's why business analysts and BPM professionals are so essential this year. By mapping what's actually happening in the real world, understanding how decisions get made, clarifying who owns what, we can create the structure that makes AI safe, trustworthy, and truly valuable to the business. This isn't about just chasing the hype of AI and creating an AI agent because it's the fun and exciting thing to do. It's about doing the thoughtful, disciplined work that we've always wanted to do and leveraging AI as the reason to do it so that we can amplify the right outcomes in the right context. So I look forward to going on this journey with you in 2026 and hearing what everybody else has to say about their top trends for 2026 as well.
Thank you very much, Laura, for sharing your thoughts here. I completely share your perspective, and I'm sure many listeners have had similar experiences. Let's work together to change this in 2026. And now we're coming to two BPM thought leaders who, of course, simply can't be missing, Casper Jans and Russell Gummersall from the BPM 360 podcast. I had the honor of being a guest on their podcast for the second time after I met Casper in person for the first time at Cellosphere last year, and it was an absolute blast. So here are their top BPM topics 2026.
Hey Mirko, this is Casper and Russell from the BPM 360 podcast crew with our predictions for, let's say, hot topics in BPM for 2026. I'll start with the first one, Russell, and then you can take over. So the first one, I think, is a revival of process management as a strategic asset. A lot of companies, let's say they're now engaging in process intelligence, process mining, orchestration. They find out that the process management part is actually the connecting tissue between all of that. So a revival of interest in process management. That's number one. Russell,
and the
number two.
Second one is definitely agentic AI for process management, and you could turn it around, process management for agentic AI. So I think after 2025, seen a lot of pilots fail, people realize that they have to combine the view on process management with the agentic AI pilots and implementations, and then you can create the real value.
Great. And then number 3, I think that there is, we're adding a new component into the conversions into a BPM singularity point. We already predicted for last year, we predicted the conversions of mining and management, which I think is happening, maybe not as quickly as we want to. But I think that orchestration engines or orchestrations in general have joined that crew. So I think that orchestration engine will converge really much more closely to the process management part. Because basically in process management, you can define what needs to be orchestrated based on what you learn from mining.
Exactly. And the convergence and the singularity will also expand beyond the classical meta model of process management and involve or integrate much more seamlessly with the meta model from enterprise architecture and other thought models. So here we've had a lot of talks with our guests, and we all see that this, also based on the support of AI, will be something where we will have in the future one singular view.
Very good. So that's it, Marco. And thanks for inviting us to share. And good luck. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you very much, Casper and Russell. I'm on board with all of these points, and I can especially confirm from my own hands-on experience that BPM can truly be a strategic asset. Yeah, it's incredible what you can move when you really take it seriously. And now let's continue with another duo and hear what Regina Haar and Carsten Behrens from Modell Aachen, part of the team behind Kupke, have to say.
Hi, this is Regina Haar, Attention Manager.
And I'm Carsten Behrens, CEO and founder of Modell Aachen.
My top BPM topic, and I think, Carsten, you basically agree, for 2026 is human centricity. Because we need to remind ourselves of who is our audience. Who is supposed to read, use, and co-create processes? Who is supposed to adopt the process? In most cases, the answer is humans. So, with AI on the rise and AI topics dominating every conference, it's very easy to forget about our main target group. But if we forget to keep them involved, process adoption rates will stay low and BPM will have low impact. If we actually care for human centricity in process modeling, processes will come to life much easier. Carsten, what's your top BPM topic for 2026?
First of all, I totally agree to what you said. And in addition, I would say 2024 was the year of experimentation of AI technology in process management. The year 2025 was the year of productivity, and it was shown that AI can increase productivity of the business process management process a lot. And the year 2026 will be the year of high adoption rate of AI in process management, and it will be widespread in all companies. So I expect that there won't be any introductions of business process management without AI from 2026 on. The other interesting point will be AI agents. At the moment, they are extremely hyped, and the year 2026 will show whether the hype is exactly what we may expect in 2026, or there will be a certain disappointment. And I think the reality will be somewhere in between. And at the end, I'm very convinced that the importance of reliable, precise, and up-to-date process information has never been higher than in 2026.
Thank you very much, Regina and Carsten. You know how much I like your approach, and the points you mentioned really resonate with me as well. You're addressing some truly important topics for 2026. The next expert is Roland Wolt from the What's Your Baseline podcast.
Hey Mirko, this is Roland from What's Your Baseline, and you asked me a couple of days ago what my prediction for 2026 will be. Well, it is AI, like anyone else's. So a little bit boring, but I like to give it a little twist. The first twist is we will see more AI in our tools. That is the same as we've seen it in 2025. It will be the little helpers that make lives a little bit more easier. But what we won't get is the single button press of a complete process analysis or a single button press of a complete automation. So you will have to continue doing the work. The second thing that you will see is you will see more AI in implementations. And this is where my little beef with that topic comes up, because I don't like those anthropomorphic things like, oh, AI is your new coworker. And if I see another picture of a robot hand shaking a human hand, my eyes roll over like crazy. No, AI is just what it is. An automation technology. Nothing more, nothing less. Is it a powerful automation technology? Yes, for sure, right? It can do more things than other software can do, but it also might be limited to a certain type of automation that you will need. So what are you supposed to do now? Well, do the basics, right? Understand your process. Optimize your process before you automate it. Run a simulation to understand the business case and the benefits that you want. Then automate it. And then lastly, monitor what you have implemented with tools like process mining so that you see if you really got the benefit that you were expecting in your business case. So here you have it. That's my recommendation, my observation, my things that I think will go on in 26. Well, have a great day.
Thank you, Roland. That's a great reality check. AI is powerful automation, not a new coworker, and the hard work of process clarity still matters. The next contribution comes from Björn Richardshagen. He is the founder and CEO of the BPM consulting company Minautics. He is also the host of the Workflow Analytica conference in Berlin, where I had the chance last year to speak about building a process-driven organization. Yeah, it's a truly fantastic event and I hope to go there this year again. So let's see what Björn has to say.
Hi, this is Björn Richardshagen from Minautics in Berlin. My top BPM topic for 2026 is not automation, not artificial intelligence, and not any process mining related matter. It is process strategy and the definition of process goals. And here's why. After technology trends like process orchestration, RPA, process mining, agentic automation, etc., our customers start to refocus on what matters the most. A strategy that focuses on customer needs and value creation. Hence, they pull back from tools and concentrate on process pitches to reach value contributions for customers. Process efficiency and, due to global political changes, process resilience. And generally, a contribution to the organization's business goals and objectives. Lately, we experienced that organizations were carried away by promises and advertised usage scenarios that did not create the promised business value. Although technology stays relevant in modern process management, it seems strategies and organizational answers are gaining more traction, solve business problems on an enterprise level. Strategic focus, therefore, becomes trendy again, and consequently, in my eyes, it's the top BPM topic for the upcoming months.
Thank you, Björn. I just love it. Over the past year, I supported several companies on exactly this topic and helped them to translate their strategy into processes. I know how powerful this approach is, and companies that truly understand it gain a real competitive advantage. This leads us to a person whose opinion cannot be missing. It's the godfather of process mining. So here is the top BPM topic 2026 by Professor Dr. Wil van der Aalst.
Hi, this is Wil van der Aalst, professor at RWTH Aachen University and chief scientist at Celonis. My top BPM topic for 2026 is life after ChatGPT. The hype is over. The smoke has cleared. The prompts have cooled. ChatGPT did not replace professors, doctors, lawyers, programmers, or CEOs. Text, illustrations, reports, PowerPoints can all be generated without any effort, but there is nobody to read or look at them. We are now back to reality. It turns out AI does not fix processes if the processes are spaghetti. AI does not create insight if the data is nonsense. and AI does not magically infer structure where none exists. For a while, people believed structure was optional. AI will figure it out. Models were removed, semantics ignored. Chaos was rebranded as agility. So they removed models, they removed semantics, they removed responsibility, and hoped chaos would be more efficient. It wasn't, because AI without process understanding is just autocomplete with confidence. ChatGPT writes beautiful pieces of text. It hallucinates with confidence. It optimizes locally and fails globally. Meanwhile, real organizations run on orders, invoices, deliveries, assets, patients, applications, all interacting, all evolving, and all creating behavior over time. This is where reality returns. Life after ChatGPT means rediscovering that processes are not just decoration, they are the core of an enterprise. Structure is not the enemy, it is a prerequisite. Removing models does not increase agility, it removes understanding. All you want that AI predicts, explains, and improves. But to do this, you need object-centric event data, explicit process models, and systematic approaches towards process mining. In short, no AI without process intelligence, you already knew that, no intelligence without structure, and no structure without object-centric thinking. Welcome to life after ChatGPT. Now back to reality.
Thank you much, Will. I think you've hit the nail on the head. Really well put. I'll revisit this, just like all the other topics, in more detail in the episode recap. From my perspective, your contribution rounds things off perfectly, and I'd like to sincerely thank you, Will, and everyone else who shared their topics. This is truly valuable, and I really appreciate your contributions. So, a big thank you to all the experts for sharing your topics for 2026. All right, expert voice is done. Now let's switch to the community signal. We are coming to the results of the new process survey with the topics that are on the list of the new process community, so on your list. First, let me tell you a bit more about the setup. As you probably know, I conducted the survey as an online survey in November 2025. It primarily focused on the question of what the participants are working on right now and what they have on their list for 2026. The questions were quite open and could be answered in a free text form. After the end of the survey, I've read every single answer and I categorized it. If an answer covered several topics, it was counted in every one of the named categories. Some topics like automation or process mining were easy to identify. Others were harder to interpret and categorize. But somehow I would say I made it. Yeah. In addition, I also asked ChatGPT to analyze the results. Interestingly, we came up with quite similar categories, but mine were a bit more differentiated. I'll tell you more about that later on. The survey attracted a truly international group. Yeah, more than half of the participants came from German-speaking countries, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein. Yeah, 66% to be precise. But we had also responses from India with 5%, from New Zealand, from Canada and Netherlands with 3% each. And beyond that, there were participants from 19 other countries, from South Africa and Poland to Estonia, Argentina, and the Philippines, for example. So I really love this international spirit of the new process community. That's great. So in total, 111 fellow BPM enthusiasts completed the survey. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's the biggest sample we've ever had, and that makes the results really representative. So thank you very much. 24% of the participants are internal BPM consultants within their company. 23% of the participants work as BPM consultants for other companies. So doing consulting, basically. 22% are responsible for the operation of a BPM system in their organization. So adding this up with the 24 being internal BPM consultants, nearly half of the participants are providing BPM to their organization. Yeah, we had 7% of the participants that are BPM users, such as process owners, process architects, process managers, however you call this role. And the other participants were researchers, tool vendors, or basically a mix of these roles we already talked about. But now, what are the results? Yeah, what are the top BPM topics 2026? As I said, I've read all your answers, really all your answers, grouped and categorized them to find the big topics. In total, more than 15 different categories were identified, but I will only point out the ones with more than 10 mentions. This year, we have 5 top BPM topics that clearly emerged from the New Process Survey 2026. I'll go through them in an ascending order, from the least mentioned to the most dominant themes. This order already tells an important story about where BPM really stands today. So let's start with topic number 5. About 13% of the participants explicitly mentioned AI application for BPM itself. The application of AI for business process management. This is not about AI in general, not about hype. It's about very concrete use cases, such as AI supporting process modeling, documentation, analysis, or governance topics, like generating process models based on AI, evaluating these models, and so on. It's a relatively small group, but a very interesting one. These participants already see BPM as a discipline that can be augmented by AI. That's super cool. They are asking questions like how AI can help them understand process better or reduce manual BPM work, for example. This group is clearly thinking one step ahead. This is where a lot of potential for the next generation of BPM comes visible. I'm curious how this journey will continue. But we are now going to continue with topic number 4. 15% of all participants mentioned process modeling and process architecture as the topic that they have on their list for 2026. Participants refer to end-to-end processes, process landscapes, and structural clarity, for example. Architecture is often not named explicitly, but it's clearly felt in what you wrote there. Many organizations struggle because processes exist, but the structure behind them is missing. No process architecture. And without a clear architecture, everything becomes somehow fragile. Automation becomes risky, and AI becomes dangerous. Process architecture is somehow the silent backbone of a process-driven organization. And for me, the trend over time in this topic is really a warning signal. In 2024, 32% of survey participants mentioned it. In 2025, so last year, it dropped to 22%. And for now, 2026, it dropped to just 15%. Even though solid process architecture and a clear understanding of processes are absolutely foundational for any advanced methods and especially for the effective use of AI. So let's keep this aspect in mind. To me, it's really a warning signal here that the numbers are going down. But now let's move on to topic number 3, which ended up in this spot by just a tiny margin, only a few decimal points. Process mining was also mentioned by 15% and a bit more of the participants. This result is very telling. At 15% for 2026, this topic has remained remarkably stable over the last years. We had 15% in 23 and 24 and 70% in 25, now 15 again. So process mining is no longer a hype topic. It's becoming more or less a given. And to me, it's an essential part of process management. Participants mainly mentioned process mining in the context of transparency, data, and insight. It was rarely mentioned as a standalone solution. That's super cool. This shows that process mining is seen as an enabler, not as the end goal itself. It is necessary, but never sufficient on its own. For me, it's a very valuable tool for managing and continuously improving processes in a truly professional way. But now, let's continue with topic number 2. It is process automation, including the application of AI to automate processes. 39% of all participants mentioned process automation in one form or another. Within this group, about 32% explicitly referred to AI. This shows a very strong desire for impact, I would say. People do not want to analyze forever. They want processes to actually run better, faster, and more reliable. AI is clearly becoming part of the automation conversation. So it is a way to automate processes applying AI. At the same time, automation itself remains the core driver. AI acts as an accelerator, not as a replacement for solid deterministic process automation. It's just another step another method on how to automate process. This also shows a growing expectation that BPM must deliver tangible results. What's important to me here is to make it clear that AI is no longer just a buzzword. It can very concretely be used as another way to automate processes. Maybe it's still a buzzword on senior top management level on the board in these discussions. But for you, the new process community, it's definitely more than that. It's a way to automate processes. So alongside classic deterministic automation approaches like Gen AI, agentic AI, and agentic orchestration are now moving onto the agenda. At the same time, I want to underline that none of these approaches will really work unless an organization actually knows its processes and is able to manage them in a professional way. For example, through real people who take accountability for processes. And one more thing, I deliberately separate this point from the topic number 5, which was about using AI for BPM. First, I put all the AI stuff together in one category, but to me, this doesn't make sense. So that's why I separated them into 2 categories. Number 5 with 13% mentioning the AI application for BPM, and then as part of process automation, the other big part of AI. But we'll come back to that distinction in the recap. Now, let's finally get to the top BPM topic for 2026. So 58% of participants pointed to BPM basics, culture, and enablement. This includes topics like BPM roles and trainings, governance, skills, mindset, implementation, and the BPM lifecycle. In other words, building a process-driven organization. So talking about the basics, the culture, the enablement of the organization. This is not about tools. It's not even primarily about technology. It's about understanding. It's about ownership and people. Many organizations are still struggling with the fundamentals, and everyone feels it somehow. Without these basics, everything else becomes unstable. Automation does not scale. Process mining creates frustration. AI amplifies chaos instead of value. And maybe you saw that I posted about this topic back in November. And this post on LinkedIn actually went viral, with more than 100,000 impressions. The point was everyone wants the hyped topic of AI, but no one wants to deal with the basics. The survey results make it crystal clear that the new process community gets it, that you simply can't make any of this work without those fundamentals. And that genuinely makes me happy. So thank you very much that you already have that on your list. So these are the results of the new process survey 2026. Your top BPM topics for 2026 are, I just quickly repeat it, AI application for BPM with 13%. That's topic number 5. Topic number 4, process modeling and architecture with 15%. And then topic number 3, process mining with also 15 and a bit percent. Topic number 2, process automation, including AI with 39%, and AI is 32 of this. And topic number 1 is BPM basics, culture enablement with 58%, also known as building a process-driven organization.
Let's recap today's new process inspiration.
So, first of all, a big thank you to all of you who participated in the survey. You are awesome. That's the biggest sample we've ever had. That's so cool. And also a big thank you to all the BPM thought leaders, creators, and researchers who shared their expert topics in this survey. So, what's the big picture for BPM in 2026? Across all expert inputs, one message is crystal clear. BPM is becoming more important, not despite AI, but because of AI. First, AI is shifting from experimentation to execution. The focus is moving from cool pilot projects to embedding Gen AI and agentic capabilities into real end-to-end processes with governance, risk management, and measurable outcomes. Second, process intelligence and trusted process data are the new foundation. If you don't have clarity about the as-is reality of your processes, you can't automate responsibly, and you definitely can't scale AI reliably. Transparency, event data, and process facts become strategic assets. And third, human-centric BPM is even more in the spotlight. Processes must be designed for the people who do the work. Adoption, usability, clear ownership, and enablement are critical, especially in a future where humans and AI collaborate in a hybrid workforce. Fourth, BPM is being reframed as an enterprise capability that connects strategy to execution. Less tool hype, more strategic focus. I love that. Clear goals, KPIs, resilience, and value contribution. What is the strategic contribution of a process? And fifth, convergence is accelerating. Process mining, process management, and orchestration are moving closer together toward a more integrated single view of process reality and execution. And one more important special topic to keep in mind, responsible and sustainable BPM, optimizing not only for performance, but also for environmental and social outcomes. If I had to summarize the BPM trends named by the BPM Thought Leaders and researchers in one line. In 2026, the winners will be those who build trustworthy process foundations. So AI, people, and strategy can actually work together and deliver real impact. In addition to these trends, I would like to wrap up the key BPM topics for 2026 from the new process survey. As topic number 5, 13% of all participants mentioned the application of AI for BPM, using AI to support modeling, analysis, governance, and so on. 15% mentioned process modeling and architecture, the structural backbone that often stays invisible but holds everything together. This was topic number 4, and it was only edged out by topic number 3 by a tiny margin, just a few decimal points. 15% and a bit more referred to process mining, mainly as a way to create transparency and data-driven insights. Then we see a big jump to topic number 2. 39% mentioned process automation, and in most cases, already including AI as an accelerator, as a BPM topic on their list for 2026. And the strongest signal of all, 58% highlighted BPM basics, culture, and enablement. In other words, building a truly process-driven organization as their topic number 1 for 2026. For me, the key takeaway is simple. Many organizations are already talking about AI, but even more are still working on the fundamentals. And that's why 2026 won't be about the next shiny tool. It will be about creating clarity, structure, and capability so that automation and AI can actually deliver real impact based on that. So now let me connect what the survey told us with what the experts reinforced. And the good news is they don't contradict each other. They describe the same reality from 2 different angles. The survey shows the demand signal. The strongest theme or the strongest topic was still BPM basics, culture, and enablement, building a truly process-driven organization. And right behind that, we see automation increasingly with AI already baked in as just another way of automating processes, not just deterministic way, but also with AI application. The experts explain the why behind that signal, I would say. Yes, AI is everywhere, but they kept repeating AI only works at scale when you have process clarity, ownership, and reliable process reality. It's not basic versus AI. It's a maturity sequence. The survey tells us many organizations are still strengthening fundamentals. And that's exactly what enables the next steps: transparency, automation, and then AI. So you can almost stack both perspectives into one storyline. Basics and enablement create capability, the basics. Architecture and modeling create structure. Mining and process intelligence create transparency. Automation creates scalable execution. And AI and agents amplify whatever you've built, for better or worse. So that also explains why AI appears in different ways in the survey. Some people talk about AI as support for BPM work, modeling, analysis, governance. Others talk about AI as an accelerator inside automation. The experts basically say both are valid as long as the foundation is strong. And one final shared takeaway, 2026 won't be won by the most exciting pilot project It will be won by organizations that combine capability building, trusted process data, human adoption, and strategic focus, and then use automation and AI to scale real outcomes. All right, that's the link between the survey and the expert views. And that's my closing frame for this episode. And to close this recap, let me add my personal new process perspective here. Because if there is one thing I've learned again and again, 2026 won't reward the teams with the boldest AI vision. Yeah, it will reward the teams with the strongest process foundations. We are living in a world of powerful AI and increasing uncertainty, but BPM becomes even more valuable when it helps organizations to stay grounded, connected, and outcome-driven. My key message is AI doesn't replace process work. It raises the bar for it. If your processes are unclear, your ownership is fuzzy, and your data is messy, AI won't fix that. It will just accelerate the confusion that you already have. So for me, the message is build the sequence, not the hype. Start with the BPM basics and enablement, culture, roles, governance, shared language, speaking the same language about the process, have the same understanding. And then add structure through architecture and modeling. Create truth through process intelligence and transparent as is data. And then scale with automation, and only then push AI and agentic capabilities into end-to-end execution. That sequence is exactly what it means to become process-driven, not more documentation, not more tools, but clarity, ownership, and a system that turns strategy into reality through processes. And I'm personally very aligned with the human-centric thread in all of this, because processes are ultimately for people. If you want real adoption, processes must feel usable, relevant, and empowering, not like compliance artifacts. This is also where my purpose connects directly, creating inspiring experiences. For me, BPM should create inspiring experiences for customers and for the people doing the work, purposeful every single day. That's the mindset behind my community and all the learning formats too. I'm deliberately helping people building foundations, BPM basics, clarity, practical next steps before we chase the shiny AI promise. And finally, this is why I'm so focused on a truly people-friendly BPM product. If process information becomes the bottleneck, then the way we create, maintain, and consume that information has to change. My bet is we need process tools that work for everyone, not just for experts. So process reality stays current, trustworthy, and actionable. And so my closing thought is this. 2026 won't be won by the best AI demo. It will be won by the organizations that combine process clarity, trusted data, human adoption, and strategic focus, and then use AI to scale outcomes responsibly. So if you are listening and thinking, where do I start? My honest answer is start with the foundations and make your next step concrete. That's actually why I created a small practical entry point, the BPM Roadmap mini course. Maybe you saw that already. It's designed to help you build clarity on what to do first, what to do next, and how to move toward a truly process-driven organization without getting lost in tool discussions, for example. So no pressure at all, but if this episode resonates, you'll find the link in the show notes. And either way, I hope this recap helps you make 2026 the year where BPM creates real impact, purposeful, human-centric, and grounded in reality. All right. Now you are ready to continue or even start your process journey in 2026, purposeful every single day. Thank you very much for listening. Have a fantastic 2026. Bye-bye und auf Wiedersehen.
You've been listening to the New Process Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode for more tools, methods, and best practices to rethink your process and push it to the next level. Thank you for listening.
Before you leave, let's make this actionable. If you want a clear sequence for building BPM foundations before scaling automation and AI, I've put it into a free BPM roadmap mini course. It helps you figure out your next steps based on where you are today. And you'll find it at newprocesslab.com/roadmap. And of course, in the show notes. So thank you very much. Have a fantastic 2026. Bye-bye. And one more thing. Yeah, maybe you've already heard about it. I created a free mini course on how to build a process-driven organization. Yeah, with my personal support, the course helps you to get all the knowledge you need to know to get to a process-driven organization, and it will help you to take the next concrete steps to get there. To learn more, just head over to newprocesslab.com/roadmap. So see you in the course, and thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.